Hi everyone, my name is Robert, or also the Frisco. If you ever want to know why, that's a long story, and it's about 30 years old. But in any case, I am a quadcopter pilot and a fixed-wing pilot. I flew quadcopters on Betaflight, or still do, and I've flown fixed wings on iNav. And I always wanted a VTOL, and I did not want to use AudioPilot. So now when iNav 7 came out with VTOL support, I decided it was time to build one. And that took me, the build was quick, but it took me quite a few days to figure out how to set iNav. Much of the configuration is documented on the GitHub, and I will put all my links down there. So you can go there, you can see the CLIs for that, but it didn't make any sense to me. So it took me quite a while to get it figured out. And I thought I share what I found out, both in a document that I will go through as well as on video, because quite frankly, I don't like reading as much as I do watching a video. So here's the video, and I will show you how I set up this little baby here. That's my He-Wing T1 Ranger that I bought and made into a VTOL. So with that, let's get going. Something funny happened today. I wanted to start recording following my outline you can see here. The link again is down below. I realized that iNav came out with new release candidates. So I'm going to do something here right now live. I will go after installing the new configurator and update the firmware live with you here right now. So let's get going. So the configurator you can find by just going and looking for iNav. You can see here is iNav 7 release candidate 3. That's for the firmware. And the configurator is right here. This is release candidate 2. If you scroll down and you go to assets, pick the configurator of your choice for your operating system, and off you go. I have it loaded already. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just plug my T1 in. As I wrote in the document, I'm using a Maytag F405 VTOL, I believe it's called. Again, I outlined both my wiring diagram as well as the exact type with links in my document. But now it's plugged in. It says USB modem here. You know all that anyhow, so I'm going to go in here. And what I will do first is, which I always do, is I do a diff all. And yes, I know many of you have seen this before, but for brand new people here we go. And then we're gonna go and do save to file. And I have already saved this, so I'm gonna just use this again and do save, and it gets overwritten. So off we go. And now we are ready to disconnect. Go to firmware flasher. And you will see here, F405, that's my target. I gotta turn on show unstable releases, and then I'm gonna choose release candidate 3. And now we're gonna click online, load it, and now we're gonna hit flash firmware. And this is gonna run for a while. And so this is gonna go through it, erase it, and then load the new firmware on it. What I will do in the meantime is I'm quickly going to go through the document and show you a little bit what I've done here. So you can see the document itself has a little bit of a table of content. It talks about where and what I bought. As I said, I have a T1 Ranger. Unfortunately, I could not get the VTOL PNP anymore, so I had to buy the full one and then the conversion. Here's all the parts I used. I use Crossfire, and then I talk here a little bit about with links where you can find all the right stuff for that. I would also highly recommend the Discord channel. A lot of great information there and help that I've received on there. And so now what we just did is we went through and did the iNav configurator stuff, where we did the backup and where we talked about how to load to the firmware. So this is all done. And what I will do now last is I will go and I will connect. Ta-ta. I'm just going to say keep current settings. And I will go and I will load everything that I had before, because I don't want to go through the whole setup again. So I'm just going to go here. And off we go. and you will see it loads everything from start to finish. The really interesting part about this setup is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is the mixer profiles. This is really what's new and what's different. And so we'll get a little bit into this. Now it's done, reloading, and we should go straight into what I hope is mixer profile. Oh, it's actually mixer profile 1. So let me just check here. Let me just switch over to mixer profile 2. It should reboot. It does. Let's connect again. And here's the TriCopter setup. So it loaded it. And with that, let me pause here and come back doing the basic installs. So my plan for the video is to go chapter by chapter through my document, and I will pull it up, and you will also see chapter markers in the YouTube. So if you wish to skip over the basics right now and go straight into loading the VTOL C LI directly or the manual setup, just click on the chapters below and you can take it from there. And with that, I'm just gonna switch over to screen share, and we'll start with basic iNav configuration. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to iNav configurator and first show you the ports. So before any VTOL setup happens, I set up all my ports. As you can see, I have my Crossfire on 2. I have my DJI on 4, and I have my GPS on 5. And what that'll do is you can see on the receiver when I turn on my Crossfire, oops, holding a little longer, you're gonna hear some music. Yes, you're welcome to make sense or fun of my music here. But as you can see, now all my channels work. And as a next step, I will start going into GPS. As you can see on my GPS, I had actually, you need to turn it on first. So you turn that on, you pick the right protocol. And as you can see in my case here where I live, maybe I should fuzz this out, but I guess I won't. And then last but not least, I'll show you my OSD. Nothing particularly fancy about it. This is just the way I like my layout. The one difference that I have on VTOL in the OSD is that I put one of the switches on there. As you can see down here, I have a VTOL switch. And the way to do that is you scroll, and what you will end up seeing is there is, did I pass it already? No. There's a switch indicator here. So in my case, I picked switch indicator 1. And then what you do is here in the switch indicator settings, you give it a name and you assign the channel to it. So that's the one thing that's different for my OSD setup from all my others. The rest is all up to you. And then from there, you're basically done with all your regular setup that you would do in iNav. I put into the document a link to a diff that's just for the basics. When you're in the document, you can actually click on that, and you can even open this up directly in here in a preview, and you can immediately copy it straight from here, so you don't even have to open the file. Having said that, I'm not sure how helpful this is going to be because it includes my calibration, it includes my Crossfire settings, and it includes all the stuff that's very specific to me, but you probably know all of that. And so that's it for basics. Let's get into VTOL in the next chapter. So I give you two choices here. I put in there my full CLI, VTOL specific, I broke it out. That you can copy and paste and take it from there, so you get all of that ready to go, including modes and my OSD. And I'll show you that very quickly. It's nothing really magic about that, except it has all my data that you can take a look at and copy. The other thing I have done is I've created a manual step-by-step. So what I'll start with is I'll show you the CLI version, and then I will go through the second portion of this, which goes step by step and explains it a little bit. I hope that helps. Let's move into the screen share again. So one thing I want to highlight here is that if you look at the configuration, it's important to know, and you can see this really well here. Let me zoom in here a little bit. You can see here what I used, what outputs on the flight controller I used for which motor and servo. And I also show here what's counterclockwise and clockwise in terms of direction of the motors. So I went through that. You can also see here how I did my wiring. If we're gonna scroll down, there is a really great wiring diagram on the Matetek website. The link is there, and it's pretty much what I did on mine. So you can see that here. And then let's hop over to iNav. And basically all you need to do is go to the CLI, open my VTOL specific CLI data, and as you can see, I went here and made an effort of documenting what's where. So the beginning part here is almost identical what you can find on the VTOL document online itself. Let me just quickly go over there and show you. But there is a whole welcome to iNav VTOL document, and it explains a little more in detail what the basics behind it were. I have to give it to the developers. It's an amazing job they did to implement this in iNav using a lot of the standard stuff, yet making it switchable. So you can see here they talk about the mixer profiles, but then here you can see how what's here is almost identical to what I have in mind, and I just put it into one document for you so you can see it right here. And then you can take this, for example, this section here is something that's not automatically there, it works without it, but I did it. And then the same thing is true for the servos. And then the mixing part, that again was not in the CLI. I added it here for you. One warning I want to make is the return to home feature. It is in here. The documents state it's just in testing. And I mean, pretty much all of release candidates are in testing. But what you will see here is that you can take this out and it'll work without those lines. And then here are the different profiles. Once you copy this in there, and by the way, you also have my modes in here. And so once you copy this in here, let's go back to iNav. Once you would copy this all in here and save it, let's disconnect here. What you will get is exactly this. It will start up in Mixer Profile 2. You will see a tricopter. You will have the mixing set up here for the tricopter. You will have all the outputs configured. You will have all this configured. Please note, I do not have any differential thrust enabled. You have here the settings for your tilting servos and then roll and pitch. That's it. There isn't anything else to it. Let me switch over to hang on, this is interesting. This is actually the plane. I apologize, you saw here. Let me make sure this is not the tricopter, this is the plane. And now let's switch over to Mixer Profile 2. This worked actually differently when I did this in RC2. So now, look at this, it doesn't stick. Oh, you know why? It's because of my thing, it's turned on my thing. I gotta switch this over to 2. So now, when we go into 2, what you will see here is that we now have 3 motors, tricopter setup. And you will see that there is roll pitch values. And then you will see that there's all the different servos here. Stabilized yaw to have the tilt motors, servos, I'm sorry, help with yaw. And then you have different max settings. And here is an important one, that's the mixer transition that you're gonna set up. So that's the setup. If you just copied CLI and this all works, the last thing you want to do is go into modes, and you want to go and set this up according to your liking. The thing that's important for VTOL is the bottom section here, the mixer profile 2 and mixer transition. So when I take mine here, this is right now set on vertical takeoff. When I switch this, it goes over to transition. And if I had a battery now, they would be tilted about 45 degrees, and then this switches it over and it puts it into fixed wing mode. That's all there is. I'm gonna end this chapter for the CLI load, and I'm gonna create one more chapter for you to just talk a little bit about the various settings here, what I learned doing this manually, and then you're ready to maiden. So in my document, I have also gone a little bit through the manual way. This is what I did for 3 days, and I learned a lot, but it was a bit cumbersome. So I thought I'll share that learning, and I hope this helps you a little bit too. I know I'm not an iNav expert. I'm probably going to use the wrong terms, and you may cringe if you are one of the awesome developers or have been using this forever, but I hope it helps some of the newbies like me. So with that, let me start going through this here. You can see here again, I've created a VTOL diff that's just for the manual part, which pretty much has exclusively the part in there from the GitHub site. And then once you've done this, you will get the two different mixer profiles loaded, but you have none of the configurations. So what you want to do first is go to time outputs, go to mixer. It'll show up as tricopter first in mixer profile 2. And you will go to time outputs. Let me go there on iNav and show you. So if you go to mixer, I'm right now in the wrong profile, so we're going to switch this over. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I am actually switching this automatic directly on my transmitter. So that's quite handy. You can go switch it around and it'll immediately go back and forth between the two. So first you want to do time outputs, set them up according to this here. Then you want to go and add the motors. Again, in the document itself, it shows you the individual numbers here. You can see you need throttle roll and pitch for that. Some of these might be slightly different for you. And also you might find that if you roll the wrong way, you might have to change these here. Then you have stabilized yaw. I did not have that at first, and my yaw was horrible. You want to really include the tilting servos in your yaw, and that's what you can see here. Again, you can influence how much power they have here, which direction they go. That's very specific to you and how you installed the servo. And then here's an interesting one. It's something I did not know before, but this is how you control what the position is of your tilting servos. Again, for me, they are here numbered 1 and 2. You can see 1 and 2 is output S5 and S6, and it's according to the table in my document. But this helps you not to have to deal with outputs min, mid, and max. And so that took me a while to figure that out. And then you have roll pitch, and then here is transition. This is where you set up first of all, which direction, and second, how far you want the tilt servos to tilt forward and have the motors point forward, which then means that the T1 Ranger goes forward and starts accelerating forward, because otherwise, if you'd immediately switch to fixed wing, you'd actually start with the stall. And yes, Yuri can cover from that, but it's not a very smooth transition. So you can play with that. And there's some other settings in advanced tuning which will help you with that, but I haven't really played with that. So that's the setup that you're going to do for the tricopter side of things. And you will see that I've given you detailed steps here with screenshots that you can go through. Don't forget to hit save and reboot. And now you can go and switch over from mixer profile 2 to mixer profile 1. So let's do that. Transition first, and then we're gonna go to mixer profile 1. You can see up here changed, and you will see that the time output stayed the same. What changed is the airplane here, the icon here. And now you will have to go and add motors here. You will see that they just have a throttle number, nothing else. If you want differential thrust, you'd put numbers in here. I think it starts with plus minus 0.3. And then all that's left here is the tilt for the servos. And in this case, you want it fully forward. It's on my end, minus 100. You will play with that on yours, what the exact numbers are. And then you have stabilized roll and pitch, and you will add those by simply clicking on these add new mixer rules for motors and add new mixer rules for servos. Don't forget the numbers, and hit save and reboot, and off you go. That is all there is for mixer profiles. I know talking through it now sounds super simple. These numbers, all of them in the various profiles, gave me a bit of a headache. It took me a while to figure it out. I gave you my table of how I assigned what. That wasn't there either, so that helped me to really get clear on what I needed to do. And I've seen people now do 4-motor copters, which have a little bit of a different setup, stabilized. Yaw isn't quite the same if you have 4 motors and so forth. So that would be a different video. But for now, let me show you last what you need to do, which is you go to modes. And I've talked about them before, but you gotta make sure you set up the mixer profiles down here. And just so you know, one of the things here, I added return to home. That is an experimental feature right now, and I have it in the CLIs commented. However, when I did my first maiden flight, I used, let me just activate this, I used auto tune first and had this on, so I got a good tune on my fixed wing, and then I landed it and disarmed it to save it. So that's pretty much it for this chapter. I want to just say thank you to everyone on Discord who helped me. I want to say thank you to the people who developed this. iNav, you guys rock. I couldn't have done it, and I had a great time. I first maidened it in the backyard, hovered, had bad yaw, added the stabilized yaw, and then I took it out to the field. First go, flew, and those are the settings you see. So that's it for me. Again, my name is Robert, or I go by the Frisco. I hope you learned something here. I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to comment on anything that was misleading, wrong. Feel free to go into the document itself and make edits. Actually, you can only comment, but I'm looking forward to your comments in the document. And yeah, I'm gonna spare you my flying videos. There's plenty VTOL videos out there already, so I was missing this, and I hope you find this helpful. And with that, I'm gonna show you one last time my plane here. Quite proud of it.
Telemetry lost.
And not broken yet, which is great. With that, safe flying. I'll see you out there.